Trusts. We hear about them in movies, we see them in popular literature. You might have even known a trust fund baby before. But what are they about? Who has them? Why do they have them? Today, I hope my guest can unpack this. My name is Jolly Mokorosi. Thank you for joining us on Wealth at Work, a show that focuses on wealth creation and education in South Africa. My guest today, Nompumelelo Mpumi Maesela, is an experienced business and finance leader with more than 15 years in investment strategy and corporate finance experience. In addition, Mpumi has established a solid track record in implementing projects and providing financial and non-financial support to SMMEs, particularly women-owned and rural business. She has done many large transactions with listed entities running into the billions. She studied accounting, taxation, agriculture, and leadership, not just locally, but also in Spain and in Japan. But what I'm most jealous of and what I find most interesting is that she was actually a professional rugby player for the Sharks for 3 years. Welcome to the show, Mpumi Maesela. We're so happy to have you today. And right off the bat, I want to kick off with our number one question. What is wealth to you?
It's a very interesting question and very difficult to articulate. But for me, it's when you can live at ease and feel that your children's children would be able to live at ease as well, with all the basic necessities and the comforts of living without really struggling to put food on the plate and just be comfortable human beings. That's really basically what's wealth to me.
So one of the other things that always interests me is who influences your approach to wealth and who influenced it and why did they influence it?
What was it? It was my mother.
Okay, what did she say? What did she do?
No, so my mother, when we were growing up, I still have the shares up to now. When we were growing up, she bought me and my sisters Nestle, I think I have a Nestle, Unilever. I think we have about 5 stocks, which are the most common brands in your cupboard.
Okay.
And she basically used to say, don't eat it if you don't own it.
Wow.
So every time I'll be like, can I have an apple? And then I'll be thinking, do I need to own a farm? Like, it used to be really interesting conversations we have at home. But that shaped my thinking, and that has, over time, made me question everything I use around the house. Basically, I've tried to, over the years, buy each and every stock. So I have Vodacom, I own FNB, I have Richmond. I don't have a Richmond watch, but I have Richmond because I like the idea of expensive watches. But you can go and buy a Richmond and make me rich through the shares. So she'll always say, rather own the share of what you eat or what you use. That way, you are not only a consumer, but also you are participating in the economy in terms of getting dividends and interest and all of these things. At the time, when you are 9, when you are 13, you're thinking, oh, whatever, I don't know what is this about. But over time, you start understanding how important that is. Yeah, it has been fun. It's made me think differently about my spend. It's made me think differently about what I need in my home, why I need it, and how I participate within those corporates that are the ones delivering those goods or services.
Oh, that's incredible. You touched on something, one of my favorite companies, obviously, and a lot of girls don't know it, is Richmond because of the luxury goods. And there's something you said to me before you came on that really I was like, yes, about the handbags, because obviously Louis Vuitton is part of that Richmond group.
It is. Rather own that Richmond share than the handbag. I actually don't own any Richmond luxury goods, but I'm happy to say I have shares in Richmond. I buy shares every time I have 500 bucks. I rather buy a share or a portion of it because it's that expensive than say I'm saving towards a Louis Vuitton. Then the others can go buy a Louis Vuitton and give me dividends at the back of that at the end of the year.
That's, I really like that thinking. I really like, I used to say to students, rather dress like you own the club, not like you're trying to get in for free. And it's nearly like a similar kind of concept. It's a mind shift. It's, I am building a future, not just a present for either Instagram or social media or whatever it is.
You can set up a trust such that it is independent of your estate. It creates stability for your loved ones when you pass on, because they don't have to worry about, oh my word, this house was already paid off and they are winding off your estate and now they need to sell the house to pay some debt that you also forgot about and you didn't know about, or
something that was interesting for me to learn actually later on is when me and my husband went to do our will, they actually talked to us about trusts, which is obviously an area that you specialized in for a while, and the formation of trusts. At what point does it make sense for a person to have a trust?
when you have people you care about, that you would like to leave your assets behind for them safely without allowing them to be pulled out into your deceased estates. So when they are closing out your deceased estates, your trust will be included in your calculation, but your trust is ring-fenced. You can set up a trust such that it is independent of your estate, and therefore anything happens to you, all the assets and the valuables that have been bequeathed to the trust or have been transferred to the trust as part of the trust assets will not be then unwinded during the unwinding of your deceased estate. So it allows for that continuity. It creates stability for your loved ones when you pass on, because they don't have to worry about, oh my word, this house was already paid off and they are winding off your estate and now they need to sell the house to pay some debt that you also forgot about and you didn't know about, or it was something that you were not trying to not pay or anything like that. Life just happened, or it was maybe through some other dealings that were part of you in terms of your personal dealings that now are dragging on into your deceased estate. If you've not separated your asset properly, obviously that gets attached and everything gets winded at the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So it just allows for, what you're basically saying is it allows for continuity of that wealth in the family. I know with us, we were told that it makes sense for us to start looking at a trust when we have about R1 million worth of assets, not debt. Because until you actually own your house, it's not an asset. But as we said earlier, but until you actually say, okay, on my balance sheet, I've got about R1 million worth of assets. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, so they're right. I mean, a million is actually might sound like a small amount of money for some of us, because we've dealt with billions of rands in transactions. But for a household, if you have put aside R1 million safely into part of the trust assets, basically that means that those funds are safely secured for your kids and for your kids' kids. And you can define the mandate of the trust to say you want the money to be used for living expenses and for education expenses, so you know that it won't be misused. And the executors that look after the trust themselves are not that expensive. They come in through the bank. So it's almost semi-equivalent to using a high net worth banker that comes in and basically manages or puts in the wishes of the founders of the trust, if the trust obviously doesn't have living trustees at the time of your passing. If there is living trustees, then those trustees will obviously play oversight role and implement the mandate of the trust for its beneficiaries.
That's brilliant. So when you watch a movie and there's a trust fund baby or there's a trust that's involved and you're like, okay, what do you see commonly portrayed on TV and movies about trust that you're like, no, that's not true?
Everything. Everything.
What do you want
very
to
little. There's very few. There's selective truth. It's very little. So a lot of very wealthy families, they've obviously, I mean, every family will be different. So they will have kids that are down to earth, that are serious about life, that want to do good into society. But you do every now and then find trust fund kids, I'll call them that, that are, they just want to have fun and live a life and blow out all their monies. There's been a lot of internationally drive on educating the wealthy community, the wealthy families around how to safely leave the wealth or transfer the wealth to the children and to the youth that is coming up, right? So we are seeing a shift whereby a lot of the young people that have inherited their grandparents and their great-grandparents' monies are very responsible, want to do good in society, and they just want to be responsible citizens. And so and they are collaborating with others on projects, and I've been lucky to engage one or two of those very lucky people.
Nice.
So blessed, I would imagine, even. But you're right. Some of them do what we see in movies because somebody imagined it, and so it must be happening, right? But I just want to say it's a myth to say everyone who's received behaves in that manner. Not everyone behaves that way. Some people go out there and do great things with the funds that they receive.
But I think what also influenced my thought on trusts is also when I was in university, I basically watched somebody blow through 250,000 rands in a space of 3 months. And our school fees was 10,000 rands for the whole year, including res at the time. So right, myself having worked with retirement funds, we work with death benefits, and sometimes the money that's left ends up being allocated to a beneficiary or a trust. Beneficiary funds are very similar to trusts, but they're not as onerous in the South African environment. And you do see that there's different kinds of beneficiaries out there. They're not all the same. But I think what also influenced my thought on trusts is also when I was in university, I basically watched somebody blow through 250,000 rands in a space of 3 months. And our school fees was 10,000 rands for the whole year, including res at the time. So it's like a child today being left with millions. And that freaked me out because she didn't have registration money the next year. So there are those sad stories as well. So there are ways of managing some of these things, and there are different reasons. Some of the reasons I've come across for people wanting to put their money in trust is actually that they don't trust their children's choices with spouses. I've got a friend who's got a disabled child, so that child needs to be taken care of. And the other thing is, as you mentioned earlier, business transactions. I've seen BEE transactions go south, and I'm sure you've seen that as well. And then the personal assets of people is attached, and suddenly you're living on the streets.
Yes, you're living on people's garages. Yeah. So and just to add on that, a lot of these well-off families, what they're doing now as well is they're exposing the kids very early on into the business. They're exposing the kids into the dealings of their operations, creating interest, assigning responsibility and accountability. The child feels they've earned it, and they have worked towards it. So that element of entitlement is slowly being removed because they realize that actually it's not serving the best interest of the beneficiary, the receiving the funds. So more and more you're gonna see, I'm hoping we also start doing that as Black women and Black families, where we don't just sit me and you like this, but we bring in our daughters and our sons and say, this is what I've been doing. What do you think about it? How can you improve it? Help me. And, it's coming from a point of getting the child involved, almost seeking advice from them to get them interested in the topic, than like, this is what you need to learn. This is what you need to know about this business. They already have their own ideas around what would be interesting. And it's always nice to hear a different view, whether you're gonna use it or not. It's like, oh, interesting how you think. I think I will explore it, or I think it's very different to what I'm doing now, but I like the idea. That encourages the child to be more interested and to say more and participate and open up to learning more about the family business.
And having a vested interest in how this business turns out beyond just it's going to give me money one day, or it's going to support my lifestyle one day, or even right now. In fact, one of my favorite stories is a very wealthy South African family that we all know in the mining industry, who their kids worked in the mines. So they knew the business from the bottom up, not from kind of, I have a degree or two or an MBA and I came in at this level. Their grandfather said, no, you got to understand this business from the bottom up. So when you join the company, you join as a mine worker.
Awesome.
So it really teaches the value of money. You've been an incredible guest, Mpumi. Thank you so much. Thank you for your insights and your gorgeous smile as well. I always enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your insights. I really hope that people can take out of this today some thoughts or at least some strategies that they can implement in their lives and start navigating themselves towards a future that they want to see and they want to be proud of. Maybe we'll be speaking to the next kind of the future South African Rothschild family on this series. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Awesome. All the best. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for watching Wealth at Work. We look forward to sharing more stories and profiling other dynamic entrepreneurs and business people. Please like and share, leave a comment telling us what topics you'd like to see next. From me, Johnny Mokorosi, thank you and goodbye.
I know that your core thoughts leads to core emotions, and that causes core actions or results. When I came across that, I realized, okay, I can either be the victim and then go on to core emotions of apathy and feeling sorry for myself. And I made the decision that I will not do something that goes against my belief as to who I am and whose I am. If my color and my race still comes in, because within the current systemic issues, that is what we are dealing with, by God, let it happen. This is what it is, because our opportunities were taken up. We were robbed of opportunities before. And if it so be that gets now, if I get the opportunity, good. But I'm going to also make an effort that people of color following after me are going to get opportunities as well.